welcome back to another episode of Varsity Views Inside the Huddle Edition. I'm Jax Gregory.
And I'm Darian Jackson.
And today we have a special episode as it was the final week of regular season high school football. So with that, our top 5 games of the week starts now with North Olmsted and Buckeye coming in at number 5.
That's really crazy. Like, we just did 10 weeks, the whole football season.
Flew right on by.
Man.
But first quarter of this one, North Olmsted jumped out to an early lead, 7-0. You know, kind of a balanced game. Buckeye, we know, has that high-scoring offense. At least they did in the first couple of weeks. But, you know, kind of surprising Buckeye didn't get on the board here.
I mean, it's the end of the year. I mean, at this point, you got to understand like what their record is and if they're still trying to compete for a playoff spot in their seeding. But they were able to, you know, switch it out just a little bit more. Like, second quarter, they got their first touchdown.
Yeah.
But
North Olmsted
just, you know, they kind of ran it up some more and then ended up being 21-7. And that's how the half would end.
Yeah. Good. So, good half from North Olmsted. You know, love getting 21 points on the board and only having the other team have 7, especially with a team like Buckeye. But coming out of halftime, Buckeye would make a comeback. They would tie it up at 21, and North Olmsted would be kind of, you know, freaking out a little bit. Like, oh.
A little shaky. Like, you just allowed 2 scores. I mean, being up 21-7 to now the game being 21-21, you know, got a little comfortable. You like what you did in the first half.
Yeah, exactly. And but North Olmsted would end up getting the lead back and taking the lead 28-21. This would end up being the final score of the game, so...
North Olmsted did their job.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, you know, you blew the lead that you had, and the only way for you to, you know, maintain what you were doing before, you got to put the gas.
Yep.
Got to hit the gas, man.
Yeah, they did that, though, winning the game 28-21, and the player of the game was North Olmsted running back Jared Kelly, who had 19 rushes for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns.
If you guys want to tap in and listen to more on this story, make sure you guys go on to KeonSports.com, look up the author William Snyder.
Exactly. And coming in at game number 4, we have Kenston versus Mayfield. Now, this was a high-scoring game pretty much, and it kind of similar to the last game, except Kenston was up 14-7 at the end of the first quarter over Mayfield. So a great quarter from Kenston. Mayfield, you know, you're sticking in there, only a down, a touchdown. But in the second quarter, Mayfield couldn't score the ball. They got no points in the second quarter, while Kenston added on to their lead 21-7 at half.
I mean, again, that's great work from Kenston. Kenston is like a very solid team, and I'm pretty sure we've had
a couple of them
here once or twice.
Yeah.
Especially going into the half 21-7, and again, it's the end of the year. Nobody wants to lose the last game of the season. Most of these guys are seniors, so you know you want to go out on a bang. And Kenston is out here doing their job as they've been doing all season long.
Yeah, exactly. And coming out of halftime, neither team would score. So we saw no score in the third quarter.
That's a recurrence.
Yeah.
Like, every team does that. Like, they either don't score in the second quarter or they just die in the third quarter. Like, there's no score whatsoever.
Yeah, and for Mayfield, that would be the second straight quarter of not scoring after they led the game early 7-0. So they were on top 7-0. And then they didn't score for the next 2 quarters, so kind of tough for Mayfield. I'm sorry,
but it's all good because Mayfield they turned it around. They was able to tie the game 21 apiece.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they came back, tied the game up. We got 21-21. Kenston would end up scoring a touchdown with 2 minutes left though to take the lead 28-21.
And that's big.
Yeah, it's huge.
And in order for a team like Mayfield to get the ball down the field, you got to make passes. You can't just run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to make some passes and make sure they nice and solid. But they weren't able to get anything going, and that's literally how the game would end. Kenston winning 28-21.
Yeah, Mayfield had one more chance. They would throw a Hail Mary, but it would get intercepted by Kenston, and that's when Kenston won the game 28-21.
I feel like that's the sad part. Like, when you got a really good look at the end of the game, like, listen, this is it right here. You throw the Hail Mary, because what else you going to do? The Hail Mary is always the go-to, and for it to be intercepted, just to think if it wasn't, would they have caught the ball?
Maybe if it was tipped or
anything deflected, maybe hit a bird in the sky, like, who knows, like, anything but the interception. Like, they could have maybe tied this game and forced overtime.
Yep, but the player of the game was Kenston quarterback Nico Giorgio, who had 256 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. So he had 3 of their 4 touchdowns in this game.
That's, hey, man, great offense from him. That's you a quarterback. That's what you do. He make things happen. You make things happen and you win games.
Exactly.
Make sure you guys still go to KeonSports.com. Look for the author Trevor Tucker. I mean, he had a very entertaining game. I would say so. So make
Hail
sure
Mary, yeah.
everything. So make sure you guys go tap in and read up on his article.
Yeah, and coming in at number 3 on the countdown, we have St. Ignatius versus Clarkson North. This was a defensive battle.
It's an Ignatius game. We love St. Ignatius as a football program. They make deep runs in the playoffs. They're always an entertaining team that you want to look out for and watch.
First quarter was 0-0, and as we know, Clarkson North had the ball for the whole first quarter. They weren't letting Ignatius touch the ball.
That's pretty ridiculous. I can kind of see why, because you put it in Ignatius' hands, it's kind of over with on their drives. But for you to hold the ball for 12 minutes, the whole first quarter, and did not score.
Nope. But in the second quarter, Clarkson North would score on that same drive. They'd punch it in, 7-0 Clarkson North early second quarter. But Ignatius would get the ball, and they would score very fast. Touchdown, tied at 7.
I mean, that's Ignatius for you. That's literally what they do. They score the football each time, and all right, let's be honest. That's just ridiculous. I'm still can't get past the fact that you held the ball for the whole first quarter, and the minute you gave it to them, it was an instant score. So if I'm the other team, I'm doing the same thing what I did. Y'all cannot touch the ball.
Yeah, it would be 7-7 going into halftime, and coming out of half, Ignatius would get a field goal, and let me tell you, that's the last points we saw in this game.
Yes, but you can hear the birds chirping, tumbleweeds rolling. You didn't hear nor see any more scoring from nobody else. I mean, if you're Ignatius, though, you already got some extra points on the board, so all you got to do is
Just
play
hold
defense.
them. Yeah, hold
Let's
them.
play defense, and that's what they did. And they ended up winning 10-7, and you got the job done.
Yeah, Ignatius would block a game-tying field goal attempt from Clarkson North. That was a 53-yarder, so I don't know if it would have gone in. High school kicker kicking 53 yards, but
Who would have knew? I would have just been. I kind of would want to see that. For a high school kid to kick 53 yards, like, I don't even care if he would have missed it or not. Like, just the attempt. Like, let's just see it through.
yeah. So St. Ignatius would win this game 10-7, and the player of the game was St. Ignatius quarterback Joshua Papish, who went 15 for 20 for 146 yards and a touchdown. Not crazy stats, but he got the job done.
Got the job done. Make sure you guys go on Keon Sports and look up the author Tyler Baca. I mean, hey, you guys want to read on how the ball never got into Ignatius' hands after the first quarter? You got to go check it out.
And coming in at number 2 game on the countdown, 2 teams we haven't explored yet. St. Mary's versus Salina, a rivalry game I read up on from Michael Hearn's article on KeonSports.com, so go check that out. And at the end of the first quarter, it was 0-0. No score.
Very tough first quarter.
Yeah, rivalry game, you know.
So, emotions is high. Fans are probably going crazy. Again, I've said it before. You're the seniors. It's the last game of the season.
You want to beat your rival.
And you want to go to that game. That's a must-see game.
But that second quarter was the opposite of the first quarter. It was full of scoring. St. Mary's would go into halftime leading 14-7 as there was 3 total touchdowns scored in the second quarter, 2 by St. Mary's, 1 by Salina, and they were in a nice little comfortable lead at half.
I mean, I would say so after having that probably dry first quarter.
Yeah.
You want to get their entertainment going back and forth now, and for them to, get 2 touchdowns to their 1. I mean, St. Mary's got to be going into halftime feeling a little good, knowing that they're up right now and got to make a game plan for the second half.
Yep, but Salina would come out of half and tie that game up, and going into the fourth quarter, it was tied at 14.
I mean, hey, fourth quarter is do or die. One team's got to score, and then whoever scores, you just got to hold them. But, hey, they both scored. Again, tying the game at 21 with 5 minutes left in the game. I know everybody's got to be on the edge of the seats.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes at football can be forever, though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, timeouts, penalties, incomplete passes, they all stop the clock.
People probably trying to kick the field goals in or going on fourth down. Like, you really want to win, and I can only imagine how ridiculous this game could be for it again being a St. Mary's game.
Yeah, St. Mary's got the ball back, and they would score a touchdown with under a minute left to go up 28-21 over their rival. So they got the lead with under a minute left. You're feeling comfortable.
Oh, you feel great. The pressure's off your shoulders, and I know Selena's sick. I said that like if it was a name. I know the high school of Selena is sick, like crazy.
Salina would get the ball back, though. They're driving, but they would end up throwing a game-losing interception to St. Mary's. St. Mary's would come out on top 28-21.
I mean, St. Mary's did this on the road. So, that's a very good win for them, for the team, for the opposing team and the seniors and the home
I
field.
think they were actually
advantages.
the home team. I just wrote it wrong on the paper.
Dang, you got me talking backwards. Then if it was the vice versa,
St. Mary's
did their job.
Yeah.
They did their job. Good dub, man. Y'all got the fans going crazy. Got to switch it up now. Got the fans going crazy.
But the player of the game was St. Mary's running back Aiden Hinkle, who had 174 yards and all 4 touchdowns for them.
Oh, that man was killing.
Yeah, he going off, leading the team to victory. Great job, Aiden Hinkle.
Good work, my God.
And once again, if you'd like to learn more about this article, we already said it, but please go to KeonSports.com. Look for the author Michael Hearn. He wrote a great article on the St. Mary's-Salina rivalry game.
Shoot, we got game number 1.
Yeah, number 1 game of the week, Columbia versus Firelands. Now, we said watch out for this game. Maybe Firelands could get an upset. If Firelands would have won this game, kind of a spoiler, they would have shared the conference title. But let's see what happens. Let's dive into it.
All right. We're going to start with the first quarter, obviously. 14-7, Firelands. Crazy.
Hey, over an undefeated team up 14-7 in the first quarter, you got to love it.
I mean, if you're Columbia, I mean, you've won every game.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, why stop now? You really only got to do one more. You got to just win one more game. Finish the job. But if you're Firelands, I can't allow you to do this to me on my last game neither, though. You know, it's everybody's last game of the season. So, especially taking a challenge on a team that hasn't seen a loss yet, come on now. You got to come out with some fire.
Exactly. And in the second quarter, no team scores. No team scored in the second quarter. So, at halftime, it was still 14-7 Firelands, and they got to be feeling good after great defense play in the first half against this undefeated Columbia team.
But that third quarter was something different. Columbia got back after it, got their touchdown, and that was it.
Yeah, tied at 14.
Firelands couldn't get one. Columbia did. You're going into the fourth quarter knowing that you're kind of close to, beating an undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're also Columbia, who is undefeated, you're kind of close to winning
That undefeated
the whole
season.
Yeah, that'd be a perfect season. That's the definition of a perfect season.
But neither thing would happen in the fourth quarter. No team scored. Columbia missed a game-winning field goal, and this game would go into overtime.
Now, we love overtime games. But let's be honest.
We've only had a couple this year, I believe.
Yes, we have, but overtime games is always the best because you tend to get the best out of the players when you know that it's do or die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to make something shake or we're going home. We got to, score on this drive or there's a chance we're going home sad.
Exactly. Now, both teams would score in the first overtime, so this would lead to, yes, a second overtime.
Ooh, it gets even better.
Great game we have here. Firelands would score first in that second overtime, but Columbia got the ball back, they scored, and they convert a 2-point conversion, and Columbia comes out on top 29-28 in this game, complete the undefeated season in double overtime.
I mean, first of all, that's great coaching and great work from the players to not only score but have the
They were risking it for that undefeated season. They didn't get it.
Risk it for the biscuits. You got to see it through. Like, for them to not only score, because you could have tied it again and would have risked a third overtime.
Yeah.
But they said, it's going to end here. We're going for the 2-point conversion for you to trust your teammates, your players, your quarterback, and they completed it. Like, that's great.
That's got to hurt Firelands, though. I mean,
I'm sick.
So close to beating an undefeated team.
And it seems like this was a well put together team on both ends. A great matchup. I would kind of say evenly matched for the way that they played. Like, whether who has better numbers and who's winning more games, like, this was everybody. There's always a team that's gonna give somebody some trouble, no matter what. And Firelands was that team for Columbia. It definitely gave them some, a run for their money. And they were even leading. They were even leading throughout these games and throughout the
most
quarter,
of the game, honestly.
Truthfully, and to be leading in overtime, but just you were this close to shutting them down.
The player of the game was Columbia running back Marco Sirigliano, who had 33 rushes for 188 yards and a touchdown.
Man, that's great work, my man. Make sure you guys tap in again. KeonSports.com. Look for the author Chris Grunau. It's a number 1 game for a reason. Let's be honest. Like, double overtime, undefeated team, back and forth, a 2-point conversion on a win. Like, you guys got to read up on it. Like, this is probably the most entertaining game that we had. Hence why it's number 1.
Yeah, for sure. But with that wraps up our top 5 games of the week, our last regular season version of that. Now we're heading to the final player of the week for the regular season, and what do you know? It's our old friend, Medina QB, Dan Stoddard. Now, we didn't have the Medina game on the list,
Sure didn't.
but that's because they blew out Solon.
Ooh, yeah. You had that game, ain't it?
Yeah. Dan Stoddard threw 28 for 37, 405 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's just passing. In 3 quarters. He only played 3 quarters.
Hey, listen, man. We talked about him before. We had not seen him. I saw him first. You got to see him. That man is different.
He is insane. He also had 4 rushes for 22 yards and a touchdown. So 7 total touchdowns on the night for Dan Stoddard. He had every touchdown. Like
He had his fingerprints.
7 touchdowns
On the
in
game.
3 quarters, might I say.
We put it like that. Some people don't even score 7 touchdowns for the game.
Against a Solon team that they're good. They're not any.
No pushover.
No, not a pushover at all. Now, they were missing their starting quarterback, which hurts them.
Definitely.
But, I mean, they still have like an all-state running back there. And Dan Stoddard, he's just – that's the man right there.
It's a different animal. Man, 10 weeks. 10 weeks. We just finished our first high school football season of Inside the Huddle edition for Varsity Views.
Exactly.
That's crazy. 2.5 months of nothing but hard work and dedication. Like we got through every week, ain't miss a beat.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Unfortunately, there is no preview because we normally have previews at the end of every episode of games to come, but it's gonna be playoff time.
Yeah, so I mean,
We gotta wait for the seeding, see who's what, and if we're lucky enough to go and partake in any of the games and view any of the games, we'll definitely be back. I would say probably the games that we get to do this time around.
yeah, or like some of the maybe top 3.
Hey, there might even be an upset we might have to talk about.
Exactly.
But man, 10 weeks, bro, we did it.
But that's about it for this episode of Varsity Views Inside the Huddle edition. Be sure to follow our Instagram at varsity_views and visit our Facebook page, Varsity Views. That's all the time we have for today. I'm Jax.
And I'm Darian.
Hopefully see you next week.
We out.